Hey guys,
Hi.
and sorry I jumped in there before you did.
Yeah.
Welcome to vlog number 2.
Welcome. We made it to week number 2. So we were asked this week about gait analysis. So we've come up with a couple of good points.
Yeah.
A couple of positive points. So Lauren, what do you think is the first important part about gait analysis? What is it first of all?
So gait analysis looks essentially at how your legs, how your feet, how your body moves when you're running. So that would be for me a first positive of having a gait analysis done. You know, it kind of by seeing how your body moves, it may then identify particular movement patterns which may cause issues in the future or may already be causing issues.
Yeah, so the main thing, particularly when looking at trainers, for example, is pronation where the foot falls inwards, neutral where you go down the middle, and then supination where your foot turns out. Those are kind of the three sort of basic movement patterns that you see at the foot. Trainers then correct for that, insoles correct for that. It's best done in bare feet. Yeah. Normally it's done on treadmills. If you go to a running shop, it's done on a treadmill, so that's my clicking, by the way. So they can see what's happening with your foot rather than what's happening. I've heard some stories of people being gait analysed on a treadmill in their shoes. Yeah. Shoes are gonna, well, they should correct how you are. So.
Yeah, and I think so depending on where you go, the gait analysis kind of technology is a little bit more advanced. So some of them will just look at sort of like bum level downwards. Some of them are more advanced and they'll look at your whole body. So if you've got a problem where you're pronating with your feet, it might be actually something that's further up in your body, and a gait analysis can potentially identify the root cause of why your feet and legs are moving in a certain way.
It's good for showing up imbalances in glute strength, hamstring flexibility, lower back issues. You know, it's a lot more holistic nowadays than just looking at you running, you know, or jogging for a bit. So we've kind of hit a couple of key points in one, haven't we, really? Yeah. The other thing is very similar to testing and benchmarking. It's a really useful way of seeing what your correction is like. So if you've been an overpronator or someone that pronates heavily, you might find that actually with a pair of shoes that help you to correct your foot strike, let's say for a year. Yeah. Well, you should change your shoes more than that, but you get the idea. Let's say you go back in a year's time and say, okay, let's have a look at you. You might find that actually you've now developed a new movement pattern, which means that you now strike quite neutrally. So it's important.
Which is actually what happened to me. So I overpronated quite heavily, running trainers which support my arches for a good couple of years now.
Different ones.
Obviously different ones, not the same trainers, but every trainer I go for had that support and prevented me from pronating. Now there's very minimal pronation, so you know. So
Lauren needed another analysis, you know, regularly to basically stop her running in them types of shoes because she didn't actually need it. So if you're running in a shoe which is providing something that you don't need, it can actually cause just as many problems as getting the wrong ones in the first place. So you can see that it's getting quite complicated already. You know, but this is why it's important to get it right at the start, because then as you develop, as you get stronger, as you get more flexible, less flexible, injuries, all kinds of things that adapt how you move, not necessarily in a way that you might recognise. This is why you need to keep constantly checking gait and see what's changed. Don't be afraid. It's very, very easy to say, let's buy our shoes online or in discount stores. You can do that. Yeah. Well, you can't say no because money is a factor, isn't it? Money is a big factor for people. Why would you pay £150 in a shop when you could get them for £80 or £85, you know, in a discount store?
I think my main advice for that would be, is make sure you've had your gait analysis
Yeah,
done
absolutely.
first to ensure that those trainers that you're buying online are suitable for your feet and how you move.
But
so
also
we're
my
not saying
point-
don't buy cheap.
No, we're not saying that, Lauren. What we are also trying to say, if you let me try and say it, I've forgotten what I was saying now, thanks. Carry on, Lauren.
Anyway.
I've totally forgotten. No, I've totally. I'm trying to think. Stop talking. Yeah, I remember now. Please don't stop me. If you are wondering why it's not always best to buy shoes on the cheap, it's because a good running shop may be charging a little bit extra, but they will also give you their gait analysis, and they will also spend a bit of time allowing you to try shoes out before you buy the shoes. That's what I was trying to say. So price is one factor, but what you don't get from an outlet store or from a local, you know, I don't want to say the name of stores that do it, but there's big shops that sell lots of stuff for cheap. They sell that stuff cheap because it's not very good, you know, so it's up to you. But we as coaches would recommend getting gait analysed, or at least working with a coach that can look at you running and pick out patterns in your movement which might need to be addressed, such as valgus knees, where your knees drop in. We can spot things like your hips, we can spot rotation, all these little things, you know, how your foot lands. We can spot things like that from when we video our athletes.
Yeah.
So go to a shop and get analysed by a specialist. Don't just go to your local, you know, unnamed store that might offer gait analysis from someone that doesn't run or doesn't really know what they're talking about, you know, trying to sell you the latest, you know, shoes that might be great for Mo Farah and Kipchoge, but actually for you that's not gonna cut, you know.
And I think just on that note as well, if you are going to use a coach to look at you running, don't be afraid to ask to check for their qualifications, because there are different levels as running coaches. There are different levels of qualification, and you're not, depending on what level you've done, you're not actually qualified to do stuff like technical analysis and technical corrections. So make sure that, you know, if it's not blindingly obvious what qualification they've got, that you ask to make sure that
check it. Don't be afraid to check it. If people ask to see my qualifications or they ask me where I trained, I'm happy to tell them all the 50, 60 odd places that I've trained and how many years I've done. So don't be afraid, because if you're asking someone for technical advice, they're not actually qualified to tell you. You might as well just go and speak to Bob at the gym and just ask him what he reckons. He doesn't run, but he lifts weights and he reckons he knows what trains you should be doing a marathon in. You know, everyone's got those people that know everything about everything, and they'll tell you should get the latest this and the latest that. Actually, you know, who are you getting advice from? So yeah, totally agree with Lauren there, actually, that gait analysis from the right people is very, very useful. Analysis from people that don't know what they're talking about, who shouldn't, absolutely. The you know, those people are the ones that actually, you know what, seek out the advice of someone that knows what they're talking about. And the great thing about Facebook these days is wherever you are in the world, you write in a running community for a recommendation. If I wanted to go somewhere to get a running shoe, where would I go? And see who gets the most recommendations. You know, word of mouth is key in this industry. So if you want to know who people trust, ask them. Don't be afraid to ask them. You know, you can type into Google, you can go on websites, you can have a really fancy website like wikitry.com, and not know what you're talking about. So
obviously we do. We're not saying that we've got a fancy website and don't. But
so we're the exception. We've got a really fancy website, but we also know what we're talking about. We've got the coaching, we've got the experience to kind of back it up. And what we don't know, we work with other professionals who are experts to chip in and tell us what's going on. So we're not afraid to say, this is my boundary, you know, let's bring someone else in. However, gait analysis is something that we do with all of our runners, all of our athletes, all the runners and triathletes that we coach. We've got tests, we've got ways of looking at them and training them to help them, and we would always send them off to a running specialist to kind of get checked out. So luckily in Norfolk we've got SportLink who are excellent.
Yeah.
You know, we go there all the time. Absolutely. So. And everywhere will have that one place, you know, there will be a shop somewhere that does it. You've just got to ask the right people, you know, who do you guys go and see? For trainers, who's the best person? Gait analysis, best person.
Yeah.
People will tell you, so ask for referrals, don't just go off of a fancy website. And you know, challenge people.
So I think to summarise,
go on, let's
gait
do it.
analysis, the main points
do
to
it.
take
It's
away.
Awesome. We love it.
The benefits are it allows you to see how your body moves and potentially identify any movement patterns which may cause problems.
Yep.
It also also helps identify potentially any muscular or structural kind of imbalances or weaknesses.
And number 3.
And also it's a really good benchmarking kind of exercise to see before and after, you know, if you're running in trainers to correct a movement pattern, if that kind of correction is achieved after a period of time.
Exactly.
And as we've said, hopefully you've got, you know, like a local running shop which does gait analysis. If you have, they're going to be the best kind of place to go. And if you don't have that, please feel free to kind of use professionals such as running coaches, but make sure you check their qualifications and make sure
someone that says they're a running coach might not be a running coach. Triathlon coach might not be a triathlon coach. So yeah, check it out. Before we leave you, what we'd like you to do is, if you've got a weak link in your running,
or what you think may be a weak link,
might be a weak link, post it
in the comments below.
Down below, comment, get involved, and then we can perhaps offer some pearls of wisdom. You know, no promises, because without seeing you and without seeing how you're moving and stuff, we can't obviously give you individual prescription.
We know what you mean.
Yeah, we can't give you corrective or prescriptive advice based on a comment in a YouTube video, but we can say, actually that sounds like that, go and get that checked out and see what other people think. So yeah, feel free to get involved, and that's it.
See you all next week.
Enjoy the weather. It is proper hot in Norwich. I'm not sure what it's like where you are, but hopefully it's the same. Thanks for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.